And so, Charlie, this is my new podcast. It's called The Sanctuary, and this is like one of the things that I think is most important in the world is that everybody has a sanctuary,
Mm,
right? So I think that one of the things that I see you do just through your presence and through who you are um, I've had the privilege of seeing you with friends, and I've had the privilege of seeing you with family, and I've had the privilege of working with you in a lot of different ways in a lot of different sectors of life. So, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have you as my first guest. Um, but also, that there is I always feel like I'm in the presence of the truth when I'm with you.
mm, mhm,
Like I'm in the presence of truth, and there's something so true about you and so loving and kind and fierce and clear about you. And so I just was hoping that you could share some of that with us. Um, I love
Yeah.
you, Dimitri. Hi, Saniva. And so I wanted to introduce you. You're someone who is doing DEI work at this time in the nonprofit sector, and but you are also a healing voice in like every area of your life. You're a poet. You're an incredible musician. You write your own songs. You write your own music to your own song, and then you sing
Mm,
sing the song, and then you know, um, which is increíble. And so I was wondering about how you feel about sanctuary, and what do you feel we need
mm,
to know about sanctuary at this
mm.
time?
Yeah. Those are wonderful questions to sit with. And yeah, ever since you mentioned your invite of bringing me on here, thank you so much for having me. It's always an honor to have these conversations and be together in community. Um, and yeah, I've really been sitting with sanctuary as something that's been coming up a lot for me is the Tagalog term kapwa. And that which kapwa is very much connected to, in my views of it, the interconnectedness of all things. And I find sanctuary, I would say, in this concept, because when I think of safety and sanctuary and home and, where can we be truly ourselves, I think of like, what does home feel like in other people and myself, and like what do those spaces look like, and what spaces, because there's a lot of spaces that don't feel like sanctuary. So it's like
Oh,
process of elimination. And
yeah,
growing up, especially as an individual who's very out about my queerness, my transness, and like gender fluidity, I've had to sit with this question a lot because a lot of places wouldn't feel like sanctuary. And so I found sanctuary a lot
yeah.
on my own, through my music, through writing. And then as I grew up, I was finding sanctuary just in people I was learning to trust, as I was delving deeper into self-trust as well, like, learning who am I? Who do I wanna be? In what spaces can I bring that version of who I am? And once, and I feel like we're all we're all struggling and having a hard time, challenging times, especially right now.
Yeah.
And so sanctuary has been even more prominent in my mind because of these challenges. And so I don't know, I've tried to look every day into what could be a sanctuary for me in these interactions been, especially if I'm not feeling like I'm having a sense of sanctuary within myself. So like it's almost like this transferable energy or transferable way of being that I try to bring into all the spaces I'm in. But there's like different, almost like different tiers, layerings of what different sanctuaries there are, whether it be, family, friends, chosen family, workspaces, spiritual spaces, and within myself, especially
Mhm.
going to nature. Definitely love to go hang. Everyone I know is always like, "What did you do to recharge?" I'm like, "Hung up a hammock and hung out with the trees," or with the
Me and
water.
my hammock were out in the
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that so much.
And just like reconnecting to what is more than myself, because so much of I feel like a lot of my experiences in the past were getting lost in the isolation, and so now it's been Kapwa. It's been, well, what's with my interconnectedness with myself and all the things I'm interacting with at this time. So yeah, so I try to bring that into my work, all my spiritual work as well, and just in my relationships in whatever ways feels like there's opportunities to find that together. But yeah, those are the immediate thoughts that come to mind.
It's really powerful. Charlie, the thing that just came to my mind, you're talking about connection and you're talking about the power of our environment and being a part of our environment and feels like coming into our greater community and connection. One of the things I think about is, you're a really amazing friend.
Oh.
Like, really, really, like I love to be in the same space with you and your friendships, and they're amazing. And not only do you have friends you've had for a really long time, like, since you were in school, but also you have friendships that you have brand new friends and you have friends you know for a little while and you know, but everyone there's a power of friendship that you carry. And I'm just curious if you could speak to the power of friendship as a sanctuary, and
Mm.
how do you cultivate that and how do you take care of that, or just like what comes to mind when I talk about that.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for bringing that up. It's definitely a synchronicity. Yeah, I've been sitting a lot with what is friendship and essentially like what does it mean to be in harmony with each other. And because I think I've experienced so much, and like so many people, so much disharmony in our relationships. And there's a lot of hurt that happens from that. And so
Mhm.
I, I've noticed along the way, since I was a kid to now, a lot of the friendships I cultivate really carry the values or characteristics of reciprocity and
Mm.
um, a heavy I wanna not but like a strong sense of accountability too, is I tell a lot of people when I become friends with them, I'm really honest and I'm like, "Hey, these are my capacities for a new person in my life right now. What are your capacities?" And, like,
Wow,
when
that's
I'm
fucking awesome.
they want like, want a friendship, and I'll be like, "Okay," and then if there are people I'm noticing I'm not able to offer as much capacity, I'll be really honest, and whether that be through a text or, voice message. I do a lot of voice messages.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, I try to keep a sense of harmony of clarity too, like what to expect in with a relationship and friendship with me. Because I really enjoy that from other people. Because I think I write a lot of stories in my mind, and I like to bring it to the person and be like, "Is this true?" And if it's not true, let's talk about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like staying current, kind of like, I'm gonna stay current on our relationship because it
Yeah.
means something to me, it means a lot to me, and I wanna make sure that I'm taking care of it, like, it's yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
taking care of the gift you've been given with a lot of clarity.
Uh, yeah. And
Yeah.
sitting in I really like to sit in the wonder of Papua again is just how much we are interacting with each other all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, and in my friendships, I really want to be in my integrity and honesty around those things because there's been so many moments, of course, in my own past where I haven't been that, and I can see the consequences of when I'm not
Mhm.
truthful. And so, but how much happier I am when like, oh, if I just like stay current with these things, I'm a
Right.
lot happier. So is this other person. Let's maintain that. When there's challenges, um, knowing that I can trust our connection is a big thing. So I make not commitments to people, but rather commitments to our connection and
Mhm.
what is healing in our connection and what brings light and also, but where are the reflections of maybe some of my own shadows, that I'm working with another person.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so it's kind of like who am I able to go to what depth with who? And I kind of discern that as I go with new people too. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes so much sense to me, and I think, that reminds me of, like, the healing power of like, I make art with my friends, like,
Yeah.
every week we get together and we write together, and I just decided one day, I was like, it started out, we did, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like 20 years ago, we were like, "Hey, let's do this book and let's see what, unfolds." And we were meeting weekly to do that. It's like 12 weeks, she suggests,
Mm,
right? And oh my god, it was so good. And then we were like, "Well, we want to keep meeting."
yeah.
and so and so we started meeting for um loosely writers group. Um one of us uh there's, like, musicians in the group, there's painters in the group, there's poets in the group, there's a couple of sci-fi writers in the group, there's poets, there's yeah, all different kinds of writers, novelists. Um, I was writing an essay at the time, my friend had a magazine. So we were there and we were writing and working on these things together,
Mm.
and over the years, it's like, you know, I mean, it's shapeshifted and changed, a couple of our members crossed over. One of our friends crossed over last year, was in the group for a long time. But there's just something about this bond that we carry with one another
Mm.
when we create something together. Like, I think I don't, our friendships are so deep, and so that the group is still going. I mean, a couple of the people are actually here listening to us right now. Like, and I'm
Oh,
so
I
glad.
love that.
I know, like a couple of members of the writers group. So, um, and it's, like, so good for the soul. So, that is, like, for me, I feel like the arts are healing. I feel like working as a collective in the arts, at least for me, is very healing. And so I was curious about what openings do you see for us right now as we're
Mm.
in this time, and what can we create that's different or create together or yeah, so what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, and I love hearing about that story because I know I've heard it multiple times, but it's always so uplifting and endearing to hear about the way the artist's way has positively impacted you and your in this group and even through these different life stages together with each other. And to answer your question, yeah, with art, a lot of what I do in my job, I feel like has been trying to create creative spaces, um,
Mm,
especially with work cultures that are really stuck in productivity, and really like not seeing people as people, I would say, just like that's such a norm in work cultures is it becomes so transactional, the interactions versus
mhm.
meaningful. And this has to do with the different ways our systems are built and in place, but
Yeah.
systems change. We're the creators of these systems. We can change, so can our systems. And one of the biggest
I
things are
love that. We are the creators of the systems. We can change the systems, motherfuckers. Like, heck no.
exactly.
Yeah, we can change
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, and
110.
and one of the ways to change it is to be able to imagine new ways forward. And so that's something that's coming up a lot in both my like professional, personal, spiritual, artistic, all the realms around me that I'm involved in and dipping my toe into all the time is the need for imagination. So then we can create different ways of being and stop rewriting the same stories of suffering, I would say. Um, and yeah,
You know?
it, and as soon as I start making art, something shifts, something moves. I think when you feel really stuck, or I'll feel really stuck and stagnant about certain things. As soon as I start to try to make something, like maybe I'll run into writer's block or maybe I'll run into resistance, but those are the things that I'm noticing like, "Oh, okay, that's because I'm stuck in it." So, when I come together, I've been doing my own recent group for the last, like, maybe about month and a half now, inspired, through your group too, Char, was, like, crafty queers. Once a week, be here or don't be here, I'm gonna
Right,
craft anyway.
right, right.
And it's been really cool to see what levels of capacity there are in the group for who does show up. And even if they have what they think maybe is low capacity at first, we usually leave feeling a lot more replenished and restored. And
Isn't that
just,
amazing?
yeah, like, and I used to say that, like, that was the story I was writing for so long, was like, I just, demons of the imagination. I don't have enough time for that, or I don't have enough energy for that. But I was like, no, I do have energy. I'm doom scrolling for like 3 hours. Why don't I create a crafting space instead? And that
Yeah,
actually
why don't I
creates
make
more.
something instead of destroying something?
And so it's
Oh,
been this restorative experience that's just an open invitation to create together. And something as simple as that without any expectations, it's like my main intention I set is, "Hey, I wanna craft and I wanna connect, and I want you to show up as you are." And it's turned into such, like, beautiful conversations, with crafting, and then the art that comes through has been really profound,
mm.
'cause I love to do my abstract kinda, like, symbolism, drawings in ink. Because one day would love to be a tattoo ritualist, and so a lot of those have been coming through as I've been talking and connecting, or even just being in the space together creating, without words. So it's been really cool to see how art's forming, and I'm hearing such a on this is like my microcosm of creativity, but on the macro level, that extends and ripples out to the other work I do. That's the one thing I'm hearing.
Hi, Lawrence.
Hello.
Hi, Amber.
Is yeah, there's this deep, I wanna say, like, thirst or starvation for connection and creativity. No matter where I'm going, I'm noticing if it's an interaction that's challenging, usually there's just, like, I can see there's this level of guarding or pain that somebody else is going through. And, somebody even at work had asked, because I lead mindfulness, activities, and someone had mentioned at one point, they're like, "I wish I had a pocket Charlie." And I was like, "But
Oh my
that's
gosh.
what the resource is for. I'm helping teach you how to breathe again," you know? And so it's been this, overarching theme of, yeah, a desire for connection, slowing down specifically into connection, and wanting to create, but not knowing how to start, a lot of the time. And so I'm just like, "Well, let's craft. What do you wanna draw?" Or, "What do you wanna sing? What do you wanna" So, yeah.
That is powerful. I think that, this is so I'm learning how to operate the thing.
Yeah.
I'm learning how to do the thing. I think that's so powerful, Charlie, and I think about, like, that's healing, right? So, I think about, like, the healing arts and that, uh, there are personal healing arts and then there are professional healing arts, right? So, I think that there is a medicine of within us, like, the words are medicine and the music is medicine and um, the action is medicine, like, what you were saying about how we are, um, regenerated and revitalized when we come
Mhm.
together, even if, like, before we were like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna craft. Oh, should do I really wanna go? Do I really wanna craft at the thing? Do I" And it's like, and then we're there and it's like it lifts our spirits, that connection is like so uplifting and lifts our spirits. And so I'm just really curious about, what is healing for you? Where do you find sanctuary
Yeah.
in those places? And, you know, yeah. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, it's been really powerful to learn the ways I resist that. Like, I don't wanna be in sanctuary, just because of
Oh
my
my
old
God.
like, old habits of resistance
Oh,
and old ways, that I'm really shedding now that kept me in isolation because that's what previously was what was safe for me. And how safety because of my environments, because of the different tools I now have, I can connect at different levels, and so I'm noticing sanctuaries becoming this concept that's more familiar than unfamiliar, and I'm finding it in my songwriting,
oh yeah.
and in the communities that I've been a part of or creating, and it's been really powerful also to notice, where in solitary do I find my own sanctuary. I think that's where I find the hardest time, or I have the hardest time finding it, is because I do have I notice a desire always to be around people, you know? I think I used to call myself an introvert. I think I'm way more an ambivert now.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and I do find I get energy and gain energy from people who and spaces that are restorative. And so now I've been trying to figure out, like, what is that restoration look like in myself? And a lot of the time it is going out in nature. It's going on walks. It's being with, my family dogs, or, even just singing. Like, even just yesterday, I was hanging out in a hammock at the park and by the water in a really beautiful nook that was pretty hidden from, like, the
Oh,
trail.
sweet.
So, I brought my guitar and, there were some cottonwood trees that were, like, waving at me with their leaves in the wind, and I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'll hang out with you guys,"
Yeah.
and I had some definitely some grief that I was releasing, and so I asked them, like, "Can I be with my grief with you?" And then I was singing essentially not even lyrics, just humming whatever comes forward and being with the trees, and so I find so much sanctuary in nature, even though that's not something that naturally came to me, especially growing up just, like, in spaces, I feel like where I was more so with, like, in the city or, more urbanization areas, and being in nature is has been harder and less accessible to me growing up. But as I've grown up older and I have more access to these spaces, and, like, been making access to these spaces for myself, I'm noticing nature's just a massive part of my restoration we are nature. Like, nature's not outside, we're a part of it. Um, and reconnecting to that part of who we are on this planet has been really, really powerful for me to find sanctuary in myself. And just healing, like, having rituals, I call them rituals of grief.
Oh yeah.
Often having times for that where I really just get to sit down, and, I learned a lot of these tools from you, Shar, so thank you. And just, like, really
Carmen, Charlie.
yeah, being in this area where I can, really what's the word? Yeah, just be with myself as I am and not try to,
Mhm.
force myself to be a certain way, expectation, like, truly sitting with, like, what is the authentic part of me need in this moment, and what will be helpful. And a lot of the time I'm sitting with my ancestors, my guides,
Mhm.
they're teaching me all the time, and so it's been really powerful to reconnect with lost ones and even those that I've never met in the flesh, but, I know are behind me. And so, yeah, I see a question in the
Yeah. Yeah. Lawrence is asking, Charlie, what is your favorite nature space to center in?
right now, anywhere that's by the water and in the forest, like, forest that's right next to the water
Mhm.
is a very specific thing I love. Or, one of the spaces I regularly go back to and I feel called to is Cannon Beach in Oregon. I
Oh,
love that.
yeah.
So yeah, those are a couple spaces, or even just like basic parks around the neighborhood,
Mm.
wherever I can find access to a lot of trees and water is what I'm
Oh,
happy.
that's great. Yeah, that's great. I love this. And so another thing is I know that you are in the DEI sector right now, and that's pretty fraught with some bullshittery.
Mhm. Yep.
That to use a technical term.
Yeah.
Um, and so, um, I'm wondering about how you're using your voice,
Mm.
at this time, and even, how do you see your creativity impacting your
Mhm.
DEI work and your work as an advocate
Yeah.
and as someone who is as I say, in the trenches shoveling light. As I
Yeah,
think Phoenix Murphy said that. I was like, oh my God, yes, that's it. In the trenches shoveling light. So
Imma write that one down. That's good.
yeah, so and show, medicine, like giving out the medicine, like you're giving out the medicine. And so I'm just wondering about, yeah.
Yeah, hmm. Yeah, it's been interesting. I'm really fortunate with the place I'm at. They've been really maintaining my team, and able to do that. But I am hearing just so many stories about people, getting let go and losing their positions, and I'm incredibly fortunate that where I'm at, they're able to maintain us,
Yeah.
and it's been so interesting to really like sit with the question of how do you balance social justice values in our actions in a time where they really don't want us to be doing that,
Right.
where the systems are literally activating in a way to continue to silence people. And so I would say with much care, sensitivity, and slowness. um,
Oh, yeah. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. Sensitivity and slowness.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's such a reactivity, and both in myself and in others. And I've been seeing this as such a test to my patience. um, and I say that with humor because I feel like laughter is such an important thing to maintain right now, not in a deflective way, but in a like maintaining our funny bones way. And yeah, so I've been really sitting with every day I go to work. I'm trying to balance, what are my team needs because I'm a part of a small but mighty team, and like what's the needs of those we're serving, which are our internal staff essentially at our
Right.
org. Um, and right now, a lot of it is people needing to be heard has been a big thing,
Yeah.
and people needing to be reassured of their own power because
Mm.
I think there's been a lot of projection about, like, that well, that's what my job is, people telling me, "Well, that's what you're supposed to do." And I'm like, "Actually, no, that's not my job." My job is, uplift those
Let me
qualities.
tell you what my job is.
Yeah. And so it's been interesting, the conversations that have been popping up, um, and essentially, how do I speak to the parts and people that are willing to hear me, has been the big balance of because there's this accountability formula I saw. I can send it to you, and any viewers who are interested afterward, but, it was this really powerful accountability formula where it was like, how do I maintain someone's accountability, um, even with maybe different mental illnesses that they struggle with because, there's a balance there, and a lot of it was talking about capacity and ability to, like, hear, and if someone's unable to have capacity, then what are my safety measures in that interaction? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but, like, what are the parameters for us to connect, and am I able to, like, track and notice all of these things on my and, trust that the other person, if they're at a lower capacity to connect, then I'll step in. Um, but yeah, so it's been a constant, learning of attunement to where are people now, so we can have a positive impact on each other, and hopefully if it turns into a not positive or like a negative impact, then we can be in repair together.
Yeah.
Um, and that looks so different from person to person. So, and then there's some people who are just complete walls that will not want to interact with my team, and that's more than okay. I'm like, okay, then I'll
Yeah.
work with those who are receptive and able. Uh, so
Mhm.
yeah, so it's been discerning where to water the soils of nutrition, kind of, I would say.
Yeah.
And but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What's nourishing and how do you restore relational harmony? Like when we fall out of relational harmony, what are some effective ways that you find to restore relational harmony
Yeah.
in yourself and in your community and in your leadership work in your your nonprofit work?
Yeah. Well, some of the ways I do it in the work I'm doing has been consultation work. And
Mm,
so a lot of the time when there's people or staff who are having maybe problems with things, I'll help aid relational repairs between coworkers sometimes. If there's like,
mm.
"Hey, there was a microaggression,
Right.
harm that had happened." So I will come in typically in those spaces, if they both agree to do the work, we'll talk about it. Or if we're noticing somebody's been struggling with their team connections, and a lot of it comes down to like conversation soft skills, I'm noticing.
Oh, interesting.
Just like
Yeah.
just having basic soft skills. I'm noticing there's been a disconnect from just being human. Because we're designed we're like they're designing us right now to operate transactionally. And
Oh,
so
interessante. Sí.
yeah, and so it's been like, how do I step in to this system that's already operating and has already been operating, and just really be a space for us to be human and like, Brené Brown work, like vulnerability work. How do we sit with the shame? And so I have a lot of um, trainings around facilitating those types of dialogues. And it's really interesting. People mainly know debate, which is I'm right. This is my point of view,
That's so interessante. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
versus
that's so
dialogue
interesting. Yeah.
is designed, like if you're talking about intergroup dialogue, that's one of the ways that I'm trained in facilitation is we're not here to debate, not about this view, that view. It's about we're connecting in dialogue right now. And so that's something I have to preface a lot of the time is we're literally conditioned to debate with each other instead of connect. And debate is designed to have two sides. It's a binary. Um,
Mm.
and dialogue is meant to bridge. And so are we bridging to each other? And so that's where it's kind of interesting, like to notice and navigate where is this person at this time in the ability to have a dialogue. And some people really, like even me, before I got trained in this, I was like, wow, I do not know how to dialogue. And so, I had to learn myself and then bring that in to the spaces that now I'm helping facilitate. But if it's with me, let's say maybe the question is, if I'm out of harmony relationally with a coworker, um, what's really great with my team is I've we've cultivated such a sense of rapport, I would say, that we feel generally like safe with each other to bring up a conflict. But if that rapport doesn't even exist, then the conflict will just be swept under the rug and continue to build in resentment a lot of the time. And so what one of the like agreements our team has is like, nah, we show up, we be real, tell me what's going on. And
Right.
if I'm not doing something, please tell me.
Yeah.
Like, so we have the accountability because if our team can't even
Mm.
team of 3, if our team of 3 can't make
Wow.
harmony, how do we expect, an organization of 300 plus to do that? And so how do
Yeah.
we model it on our little micro level and hope, whatever ripples out will ripple to those that are receptive to it and want to experience this but yeah.
I love that, Charlie. It's so interesting because what you're bringing up is you're bringing up for relational harmony, it sounds like boundaries and clarity and agreements,
Yeah.
right? Boundaries, clarity, and agreements, and keeping those agreements, and
Mm.
which is a form of love, which is like the fucking hard work of, right? The hard work of loving, like that's fucking hard work. this is not like something you just do. It takes attention and care and love and communication and yeah, so that is very, very powerful. Uh, I'm curious about a couple of different things that you were talking about with working with your teams and uh, also you have several different places in your world where um, you are volunteering, right? And there's also places where there's like a fair and equitable exchange, and there's also places where, you know, you're exploring different methods and exploring different. So I'm just wondering. This is kind of an interesting question, but I'm just wondering about fair and equitable exchange,
Mm,
and and there's like the giving and the receiving, and not only as an artist, but for your work. And, and also there's this intersection that you're at of being a queer, BIPOC, trans person, and how, you're working with your creativity and your creative life and in your work life right now. I mean, we have leadership that is just so fucking insane, right? I mean, right? Like, it's really crazy. And we also have some good leadership and, like, I mean, you're leading in your company, or right? You're good leadership, So
thank
right. I think that, you know, there's I just feel like there's so many places in your world where um what you have and what you have to offer creatively and through your leadership and your mentoring is of such a tremendous value. And so I'm just wondering about, what are your thoughts about that, and how can we, really offer that uh, honoring
mm,
and that upliftment of fair. I mean, well, I'm saying fair and equitable exchange, but just an exchange of energy and of support at
mm.
the time. Um, and just like what opens for you when
Yeah.
my little conversational. I don't even know if that was a question, if that made sense.
No, I'm
Uh,
tracking it. Like a fair and equitable exchange, the different areas I'm involved in and
mhm.
also leading, and then how to maintain that almost like shoveling of light in trenches of shoveling light. I'm sitting with that. That's popping
Yeah.
up too. And yeah, I guess what's popping up around that right now is like what I'm like, I get a lot of imagery that comes to me when I'm talking, and what
Mhm.
is popping up as an image is there's a lot of externalizing right now, with like people externalizing and projecting. I want to say. And what I'm getting is like, oh, how do we turn inward um so then we can notice that.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
there's just so much, in my opinion, like unnecessary harm
Yeah.
perpetuating because we're not catching ourselves, or we're not slowing down enough to notice when we're doing those.
Yeah.
Um, and especially as somebody with all different intersections in my identity being, yeah, I'm so upfront about a lot of these because I talk about it with a lot of my staff and coworkers and all that around in our spiritual circles, in my friendships. But yeah, being queer, being, I always call it neurospicy, but
Neuro
neurodiverse,
spicy. I love neuro spicy.
different flavoring neurospices we all have. And yeah, like, yeah, queer, trans, neurospicy, Filipino, all of these different identities that pop up. um, and I used to be so upset about those identities, but like, why? Like, why do I have, come on, are you kidding me? And the more I've grown up and matured around these things, I've been noticing how I'm so grateful for my intersections.
Mm.
because it gives me this ability to see things I think that a lot of people aren't seeing sometimes.
Mm.
And so when I think about fair and equitable exchange, again, I feel like I have all these tracking things in my eyeballs when I'm in interaction where I'm
Oh my god,
like, "Ooh, where's this person?" Like,
things in my
constantly
eyeballs.
tracking.
So great.
And noticing, when am I in an interaction where the other person is also able to do this? Like, I can, like,
Yeah.
sense the trackers in other people. Um, and we'll talk about that. Like, I even had
Mm.
a story with a coworker recently who has really similar intersections to mine. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at themselves and it's the same it's like it's a
Yes, I
spider.
have seen
We
that.
were
Yeah.
we were joking and we were like, we have the same tracking mechanisms because of our interactions growing up, because of our identities, that it feels like we're like the Spider-Man meme. And I'm like, I'm noticing you're also tracking these same
Yeah,
things.
right.
And it's been cool to now have, these other individuals, in my community too that are bringing up, my own blind spots around equitable exchange because I'm always working on it. There's all these different internalized isms, that are living within my body and yeah, so I'm tracking and noticing kind of where do I go into different overextensions. What are the social identities that of people I'm interacting with? And, what are the spaces I'm in where I am more marginalized or smaller identity versus, where am I really predominant BIPOC spaces, and just, like, noticing the interactions that happen in those spaces too, but yeah, I don't know if that's really an answer, but that's what came to mind.
Oh, that's so eloquent and beautiful, Charlie, and yeah, such a beautiful answer. Thank you, and very powerful. And so, hi, Susan. So I'm thinking about a couple things. Susan joined us too. Hi, hi. So I'm thinking about the creative life,
Yeah.
and um, I mean, I have so many wonderful books and so many wonderful paintings and right from people from my own cultures as I'm multicultural and multiracial and multi-ethnic. Um, I have so many beautiful books and art pieces um, and I think those voices I kind of see as like I don't want to say my personal North Star, but it's just like they show me the places that are real, right? They show me what is ancient and authentic and real and a place to follow and a way to grow. And so what are you following right now? And where do you find yourself growing? What are where are you opening to another voice or other voices or yeah, what are you finding right now?
I love that question. Yeah, what's the, like, North Star creative abilities and all that? What I'm really called to right now has been I've been sitting with, like, deeper apprenticeships, obviously, with you is one thing,
Oh, yeah.
and I feel so called to do the work that we together, that I'm learning from you, the wisdom, all the lessons, and another one that's been popping up, really powerful grief ritual 2 weeks ago, and what came through was after I was able to release kind of like the obstructions I'm holding on to, being my own feelings I don't wanna release. Um, once those cleared out of my system, it was really powerful. I had this vision with some ancestors that popped in, and they were like, "Dance." So,
Mm.
like sacred movement.
Ow, ow, ow. Yeah.
And and that's one of the ways I really somatically process a lot of, trauma and different really intense emotions is through movement, like sacred movement, the ancient way of movement too. So both fun, like what is my relationship to dance that's for myself versus when am I dancing for my community or when am I dancing in community and connecting with something that's deeper. And so I'm actually planning to maybe see if I can do an apprenticeship too with my dance teacher and see if she'd be willing to take me on more personally because I've been dancing with her for about a year now. So dance is calling me, and so is my the ancient, arts of stick and poke Filipino tattooing has been popping up a lot. So yeah, I've been drawing so much. I've been dancing a lot. And my album, I'm in the process of recording, really wants to be released. I think it's probably going to get released in this fall or so. Um, but there's new music coming through now that's very different from this album. Um, that almost feel more song prayer even, but, like,
Mm.
song prayer mixed with social justice that's been, like, really, really coming to the forefront of my creative processes lately. And, yeah, just, like, interacting with these things, also for my inner child and, like, building a safer relationship with the children parts of myself, and really truly accepting them where they're at and not, like, perpetuating, like, disciplinary learned actions on myself, you know? So, like, relearning
Oh,
how to
yeah.
reparent and then
Oh,
also
yeah.
leaning into wise adult art. So, yeah.
Oh my god, that's so incredible. I love the things you're following, and, um, Julia Cameron, she said something in her book about how, um, like, to criticize ourselves around our ability to do art or to, um she says that like, it's a form of internal child abuse if we
Mm,
don't let ourselves create. I
yeah.
mean, that is like I know I did not say that quote in any ways. I'm pretty sure it's somewhat close to what she actually said, but I know she said it's an internal child, and so
Mm,
how to, give our inner children that freedom and that care and to nurture their gifts and,
mm,
you know,
yeah.
I'm very excited about is it a EP or is it an LP or is it
There's,
a
like well, I don't know what all the terminologies are. There's no
more
maybe
songs.
7
LP is
plus
more songs. Yeah.
songs.
Yeah, that's great.
So, yeah, whatever that means.
That's great. More songs, that's great. More songs are great. A few songs are great, a single is great, more songs are great, and yeah. Yeah, and I know from experience, like, to put something out there that's, like, of your voice, and that's not only your voice, but, like, it's like it's like, "Oh, here, I'm just gonna share this, like, this
Yeah.
part of myself." Like, it's literally almost like a part of your body. It's like a child,
Yeah.
um,
Mhm.
that we send into the world, and we care about those children, right? And so, my like, how are you caring for yourself as you're, like, sending getting ready to fledge, like, one of your children, like, your art child, I guess I will say
Yeah,
it.
birthing the art baby. Yeah, I've been definitely like I it comes back to Kapwa. I feel like I've been cultivating
Mm,
the support around me to be able to step into that courage in a way that um won't put me down for the count. I kind of is what I want to say is like
mm,
there's
mm,
like a better way of saying it is like to be able to both jump with trust that things are gonna work out, um, and the way I'm learning to trust that is because I have trust in my community. I have trust in my
okay.
and that's been so pivotal to me, being able to even express these parts because I've always known from a really young age I had highly creative, just as so many are.
So
I would
much.
spend
My
so
God.
many yeah, so many hours, we would sit and just make art, and then, it's through all those interactions of, the internal, child abuse, essentially, the internalized ways that were self-cruel that I stayed quiet about it all, and it wasn't until I started to make these other connections that I was able to see in myself, "Oh, there's something here that wants to be shared with others and is replenishing to others, actually." that's something I still sit with, and I'm like, "Wow." Um, and so, yeah, Kapwa comes to mind around how do I care for myself is making sure I'm surrounding myself with loving people and making sure I'm that loving person also, and having, like, a congruence of that support. And when I'm not supported in those ways, kinda really taking a self-look at why. Like, who
Yeah.
am I inviting into my life right now that isn't supporting me? What is that reflecting in myself right now that I need to work on?
Mm.
Uh, and yeah, and it's been 'cause it hasn't always been this way, obviously. For me, it's been this is a newer way of interacting with the world is Kapwa, is saying yes to coming onto this live chat, you know, is having the trust to do these things with those I'm entrusting with these interactions and so trusting
Mm.
and, great spirit, or whatever higher divine power you believe in. So yeah, so I'm sitting a lot with it's not like, it's me, but it's me plus, it's the top.
Yeah.
I am everyone as everyone is me. Like, the separation is the illusion type of thing. Yeah, yeah.
110.
Yeah.
110. And is there anything you'd like to close with? Do you have a poem, a song, or maybe just some closing words that you'd like to share about, you know, yeah, maybe, yeah, how to, uh, yeah, something that's a type of sanctuary.
A type of sanctuary.
Thank
Hmm.
you, Lawrence. Lawrence says you're really inspiring, Char.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Mhm.
That means so much. Thank you. I'm pulling up my notes app to see if there's anything poem-wise I have. Something's kinda popped up, so we'll see.
Mhm. So,
Mm.
solitude, yeah, great.
Yeah, this is, one of the newest songs that's been coming to me just this week before our talk, and
Wow.
it's just, one like, a couple sentences of verses, um, but yeah, I'll just read it out. I'm still figuring out the melody, so but the song lyrics themselves are, "Oh, the grief in my bones, asking me to please release me to the stone,
Mm.
rewriting a new path, repairing broken treaties, and the ancestors shall mend along with me as we write another version of humanity remembering to row towards the shores with offering the altars of ones." Mm.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for being in my world, and thank you for doing this talk. And you carry so many gifts, and thank you for sharing them with us today. And what an honor! And yes, I will talk with you soon. And
I will talk with you soon too. And thank
okay,
you so much for having me. And thank you everyone who tuned in too for listening.
muchas muchas gracias. Thanks, you guys. Bye. Aw.